The Walking Dead wasn't just another show. For years, it was an event. It wasn't just television, it was a cultural ritual. Sunday nights were for silence, lights dimmed, phones tossed aside, because you didn't dare risk spoilers. It was life or death every week, not just for the characters, but for the fans. And then, Negan walked in. With his leather jacket, his swagger, and his barbed wire bat, he looked like the villain this show had been building toward since day one. He was terrifying. He was magnetic. He was chaos in human form. He was the perfect storm. And somehow, the moment Negan arrived was the same moment The Walking Dead started to die. Now, don't get it twisted. Jeffrey Dean Morgan, fantastic casting. The guy chewed scenery like zombies chew intestines. His Negan was iconic, but the problem was never him. The problem was AMC, the writers, and the way they dragged Negan through the mud until he became a caricature of himself. Let's rewind to the infamous Season 6 finale. The lineup: Rick's group kneeling in the dirt, Lucille dripping in Negan's hand, and then fade to black. The audience left screaming into their couches. 6 months. That's how long AMC forced fans to wait to find out who Negan killed. And when Season 7 finally opened with that brutal double death, Glenn and Abraham splattered into the dirt. It was shocking, yes. It was unforgettable, sure. But it was also the beginning of the show's downfall. AMC had traded storytelling for trauma porn. Instead of gripping character arcs and moral choices, we got cruelty for the sake of cruelty. And the worst part? It worked. For about one night. Ratings spiked, social media exploded, but fans are smart. They realized almost immediately that AMC had pulled the cheapest trick in the book. Instead of giving us the story we deserved, they gave us a cliffhanger that existed for one reason only: to keep us subscribed, to keep us tweeting, to keep us paying. That lineup was less about Negan and more about AMC flexing control over its audience, and that's when people started checking out. But if you thought that was bad, the seasons that followed were even worse. The all-out war arc should have been one of the greatest storylines in television history. Comics fans knew how intense it could be. A bloody chess match between Rick and Negan. Survival on the line, communities rising and falling. Instead, AMC dragged it out for 2 entire seasons. Whole episodes wasted on filler. Tara wandering on a beach like she was in a spin-off nobody asked for. Carol staring out a window in dramatic silence. Eugene playing with bullets for what felt like a year. And Negan, instead of being the terrifying, unpredictable villain we were promised, he became a Saturday morning cartoon character, leaning back in his chair, cracking one-liners, delivering dad jokes in the apocalypse. You didn't fear him anymore. You expected him to wink at the camera and ask if you were having fun yet. And here's the real insult. In the comics, Negan was masterful. He was insane, but he was brilliant. He pushed Rick to his limits. You never knew if he'd gut someone or shake their hand. He was the Joker of the apocalypse, chaos with a code. But AMC decided to sand off his edges. They turned him into a meme machine, a charismatic anti-hero. And then, for reasons that make less sense than a walker opening a door, they gave him a redemption arc. Suddenly, the man who bashed Glenn's head in was cracking eggs, gardening, and babysitting Judith like some post-apocalyptic Bob the Builder. Who asked for that? Nobody. Fans didn't want Negan's redemption. They wanted his reckoning. Instead, we got cooking with Negan. And that's how Negan ruined The Walking Dead. Not because of who he was, but because AMC saw him as a cash cow and milked him dry. They dragged his storyline, turned him into comic relief, and eventually rewrote him into a misunderstood anti-hero so they could keep him around longer. The show stopped being about survival, morality, and humanity. It became about Negan. And when your entire show hinges on one character, one who already jumped the shark, you're doomed. By the time AMC was done, Negan wasn't terrifying anymore. He wasn't even compelling. He was just there. Another character in a bloated cast, hanging around because the network couldn't let go. And while they clung to him, the audience slipped away. Millions stopped watching. The ratings nosedived. And The Walking Dead, once the biggest show on television, became the punchline to its own joke. So was Negan the villain who saved the show? Or the villain who killed it? Honestly, it's both. Negan walked in like a rock star and walked out dragging the show's corpse behind him. He should have been the villain that defined the series. Instead, he became the villain that exposed AMC's greed and broke the story beyond repair. And nobody talks about it. So now I want to hear from you. Do you think Negan was the moment The Walking Dead went off the rails? Or was the show already 6 feet under by the time he showed up with Lucille? Drop your thoughts in the comments. You know I'll be reading. Smash the like button if you've ever rage quit during a filler episode. And hit subscribe if you want more brutally honest takes on how The Walking Dead went from legendary to laughable. This is Undead Opinion, where the zombies might be fake, but the bad writing decisions are all too real.